What's going on, guys? Welcome to our Rampion's channel. In today's video we're talking about Huawei. Now this is one of the more interesting companies out there manufacturing phones, even tablets, and they work on other technology as well. But if you look at Huawei, more so in the United States, it's known for manufacturing phones and tablets. But the more research I was doing about Huawei, I found that they even work on submarine, that's right, submarine technology. I can almost relate this to how NASA, when they work on space technology, that usually evolves into technology that we would use where we can actually use a touch screen. So you can relate the technology in that way. So I'm not saying we're going to be using our phones like submarines, but I'll put a link in the description where you can read more about Huawei. Now for those of you out there that are fans of Huawei or you know about their phones, of course you're going to know about EMUI, which is similar to TouchWiz, where it's an alternative to Android, basically an overlay. Now just my personal opinion about Huawei and EMUI, or even comparisons to TouchWiz, I have to say in the industry one of the best examples of consistency is iOS. Although I don't like iOS personally because I think Apple could do a much better job with that, I think iOS is so consistent that people know exactly what they're going to be getting from Apple for the most part. When you compare it to alternatives with Android, where you're getting these variations and these overlays, people are getting confused by the experience, and sometimes they actually don't like the experience and they might say, hey, that's Android, but really what you're getting is a variation. So I think with Huawei and even Samsung, they should probably be using the stock version of Android. I continue to say that, but that's exactly what I think about just Android itself. Now as far as manufacturing from Huawei, like I was saying in the previous video, I think Huawei should work with Google exclusively, meaning that Google should not work with any other company to manufacture their phones, because a lot of the creativity from Huawei has to do with them trying to be different than other companies out there, and it's working. They have competitive pricing, they have interesting phones, interesting accessories. You know, Huawei has worked with Google previously with manufacturing their phones. When other companies start manufacturing the Pixel phones, again, people get confused. They see different designs where they're not that impressive. No offense to the other companies that have worked with Google, but I think Huawei's much different in the way they're competing with even Samsung and Apple. And yes, Huawei is competing with them. It doesn't mean it's going to work where they're going to be the best company out of all the companies, because competition is tough out there. Like I was also talking about, these companies have to compete with a company like Apple, who has all these loyal fans, and no matter what Apple does sometimes, people are going to be buying that iPhone. Now that is good in certain ways, where Apple has a lot of success, but it's not the most impressive where Apple sells the iPhone and you don't necessarily see that many changes with the phone itself. Although I have to say, with the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus, this is the time that Apple has to make a lot of changes to the phone. And we're not just talking about upgrading the camera or even another hardware change. We're talking about the actual look of the phone. Because you know what? The iPhone has looked the same for a while. But with Huawei, they continue to innovate. They try to make changes to the way their phone looks. They're not afraid to make changes to the phone. That's another thing about Huawei. Companies that have to work on Android devices, they realize a lot of fans of Android, they want to see changes with the phone. Once you saw those infinity screens where you see like basically no bezel to the phone, everyone's like, wow, look at what Samsung is doing. That's what it's all about. And I think that Huawei is a company that has a lot of potential here to create some great devices. Now I'm not saying it's going to be as great as Samsung, because Samsung really stands out again with their screen technology, but they could do something different with their screens to their phones and tablets. And what's really funny is that basically what one of my ideas is for Huawei is to basically go talk to Samsung and ask them questions about how they manufacture their phones, because right now Samsung is that impressive, but Huawei is right there, because Huawei is a company that is not just going to continue to manufacture the same kind of phones. And I think with that kind of thought, you're going to have better phones from Huawei. So that's a company you should really focus on. I mean, if you want to go look at their website, put a link in the description again to that. You can see how they manufacture their phones, even the history of Huawei. It's interesting. This company has not been manufacturing phones as long as Samsung, but they know a lot about the industry right now, where they're competing and they're creating some great phones. So this is not just about one company or the other, but about competition and having the best phones possible so people have a lot more options. It's one of the things I like about a company like Huawei, because they put pressure on Samsung to make their phones even better. And you notice that because Samsung really stepped up this time around and they created some great phones. Not to say they haven't done that previously with the Galaxy phones, it's just that now you're seeing some tremendous differences with the Galaxy phones, where you're saying, you know what, Samsung is one of the most impressive companies right now manufacturing phones and tablets. Let's see what Huawei is going to do, because if Huawei works with a company like Google again, you're going to see some great Pixel phones. And I'm saying that because there's not too many other companies out there that can manufacture the Pixel phones and be that impressive. It's really interesting that you have these companies trying to get the parts for their phones, but they're all competing competing with each other to get the best parts. So you have manufacturing going on, but who can get the best parts manufactured for their phones and who is going to figure out the quickest is going to make the biggest difference in this industry, because that's what it's all about. You know, Apple for a while liked to say that they were the first ones to have the iPhone, but eventually other companies were just trying to figure out how to compete with them. And one of the ways you can compete with them is manufacturing your own parts for your phones while they're trying to figure out which parts to get from what other manufacturer. And that's how it works with Apple. And again, it's no offense to them, but that's one of the things they can solve, finding out where they get their parts for their phone. So I think in this situation, Huawei, Samsung, you know, these companies that are manufacturing the parts for their own phone and also innovating are going to be creating some of the more impressive phones out there. Now, that's not to say that Google can't have an impressive Pixel phone, but I have to say with Google, again, you guys really should be talking to Huawei. No other company out there, I think, at this point in time should be talking to you guys about manufacturing your phone, because as I saw the Pixel and Pixel XL, I was sure that phone was not going to be the most impressive phone throughout the industry because the way it looked. And again, it's no offense to Google with the Pixel phones, but I thought they could be a lot better. And as an Android fan, I want to see the best phones possible out there because it makes Android even better when more people are purchasing Android phones. So anyways, that's what I think about the Pixel and Pixel XL. Even Huawei and Apple with the iPhone, I would like to know what you guys think. Post your comments down below, and of course, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.